I just came back from an hour-and-a-half run, and I had this wild idea to film a YouTube video on my phone while I stretch. And the reason why is because I felt like it, and also because of the fact that, like, I feel like it's a more, I don't know, instead of like having like a set and stuff like that, where, I don't know, everything is like semi-professional and stuff like that, I've been noticing like a lot of YouTube trends lately where it's kind of like down and dirty, back to like 2005 style vlogging, where it's like showing you kind of like the daily life of like people and stuff like that. So I feel like I'm trying to kind of replicate that to a certain extent with this like style of like editing. Like, as you can tell, it's like shot on my phone, so it's not even like the best quality in the world. I'm literally sitting sideways and looking at the camera, and I'm also going to stretch as well at the same time because I just came back from a run. So if I'm talking straight at the wall, it's not an offense to y'all. It's more of just an offense, or it's more just I'm kind of trying to like have a daily life feel to like my vlogs. Even though there's going to be 0 people that watch this probably because it's just downright terrible. But I wanted to talk about an epiphany that I had. So at my work, and forgive me while I stretch, I'll try not to flash you YouTube as strict guidelines on that stuff, but it's just funny because, like, don't worry, I'm not gonna flash you, jeez. But it's funny because, like, I went to work like I normally do, right? And I have these very fascinating discussions, not just about life, but just like how people try to stay like physically fit. Like there's a channel called Body by Mark, and his Instagram handle and I think his TikTok handle are the same thing. I think he has a YouTube channel. But the point is that like I saw him one day when I was like doing some Embassy Life in DC content, and the Body by Mark channel focuses on asking people, random people, everyday people, what do you do to stay fit? What are your workouts? And he asks, like, I think he's based out of New York, and he asks very interesting, just, you know, regular people that could be like a police officer or like a firefighter, or I don't know, even like your normal Joe Schmo that works like a regular 9-to-5 job at a desk and stuff like that. And I got inspiration from that, not to do the same thing, but to make a video on the different styles of training that you can do as an individual, a normal person. Like, you don't have to be freaking like David Goggins, you know what I mean? Like, I love David Goggins because of like what for those of you who don't know who he is, David Goggins is reputed to be like the hardest man alive. That's like the type of reputation that he has, and it's honestly well deserved. Like, the dude is like in his 40s, has done has gone through 3 hell weeks for like Navy SEAL training. It was a Navy SEAL, active Navy SEAL, is now like a smoke jumper, which is where like you jump out of an airplane after they douse like an area of fire with like smoke, and then he like, you know, does 12-hour like shifts like in dry brush, like digging trenches and stuff like that. So like David Goggins is literally the embodiment of human persistence, which I find honestly incredible. And I try to, you know, I will never be a David Goggins because we come from different backgrounds, and I don't have an interest in ultra marathon running, which is what he's well known for as well. I mean, I go for, you know, runs and stuff like that, and I probably should try to go for longer distances. But, you know, I think like for me, an achievement would be like, you know, running a marathon, and because I've never done that before. I think the most I've ever run is like 12 miles, and that was because I got lost hiking back in California. So my point by just stating his name is that, you know, you have you know, extremes like David Goggins, and, you know, you take inspiration from that. But for the regular person that, you know, just tries to work out to stay in shape and stuff like that, like me, for example, I'm not really like, I don't know. There are people at work that I talk to, and they, you know, one person's training for a marathon, another person's like did triathlon stuff before, one person is training for an Ironman and stuff like that, and it kind of made me feel like crap because like I don't know. I don't train, like, I'm not training for anything, right? Like, I'm not like, I don't know. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It made me feel a little bit sad because, like, to me, that feels like I'm not wasting my life, I guess, but just like, it makes me feel inferior, if that makes sense. God, we're gonna get real in this video. Great. I was not trying to get real, but I don't know. It made me feel, and maybe you can empathize with this, but it made me feel not like crap or anything, but like, I don't know, it just made me feel inferior because like we have all these like people that are at work that are like training for an Ironman or they've done triathlon training, and, you know, I'm like, here I am, just a dude that is reasonably in shape from, you know, from my point of view. I have not really done like anything like that before, which is part of maybe the problem, but I don't know. I felt kind of like my confidence just lost, you know, after I heard and talked to like a bunch of people like that. And I realized that for me, I'm not really training for like, you know, a marathon, a half marathon, a Ironman or whatever. And that's great, like for them. Like I'm not saying anything against that, but I think for me it's just like I view working out as something that I have to do, right? Because like I think everyone has a duty to their body to learn their physical limitations. Like there's this quote by like Aristotle, I think, or like some philosopher, and of course I can't remember it off the top of my head, but like it goes like every person, or I feel sorry for the man, and it doesn't have to be man specific, but the quote was referring to a man because it was a Greek philosopher at the time or whatever. And I feel sorry for the man that does not fully explore his body's limitations or something like that. That was the essence of the message. And like I resonate with that because of the fact that for me, working out is it's something that I have to do. And if I don't do it, then my behavior changes radically. I'm not, sweating out my body's toxins. I'm not using my body because I don't work a construction job or anything like physically demanding, right? Like I stand at a desk, or I try not to sit at my desk and stuff like that. I stand all day pretty much, you know what I mean? But I do that on purpose because like I don't want to sit down all day because like that's the fastest way to get a heart attack when you're 50 years old, you know what I mean? So it's just like I try to like stay in shape because I have to, you know what I mean? Like I'm a healthy 28-year-old male and I want to stay in shape and like I want to explore my physical limitations and stuff like that, but I'm not training for anything, and I never really have like that, you know what I mean? Like I haven't, in all my styles, in all my years of training, I've like, so for example, my eras of training, right? Like when I started working out, I was like, 15 or something like that, right? Like actively working out, you know what I mean? And like, it wasn't until I was 18 years old, and we're going to walk through like my eras of training, and then we can use that as examples on like how you can train and how to like kind of make sure that you're physically fit, you know what I mean? So it's just like in my life, I first got introduced to powerlifting through a friend of mine back in college. That was very interesting because that was the first time I had ever done something like that. And I was like, I was like squatting, deadlifting, bench, like all the gym bro stuff, as you know, and stuff like that. And it was great because like I felt like a man. I had confidence after like a year of lifting and stuff. I looked great, and not to casually flex in front of the camera, but it's just like I felt really, really good about myself, and I'd never felt like that before. And that's when I first realized that working out is not just like, great for your body and stuff like that, but like it's also like a self-confidence booster at the same time. So it's like I went from like powerlifting for a couple of years, and then I was in college when that was going on, and then I had my first real injury because I was a complete idiot. I don't know if I can curse on YouTube. This is my first time like cursing, but like I had a really bad injury because I was like deadlifting I don't know, 315 or something at the time, which, ha ha ha, if you make jokes, whatever. I was like freaking in my 20s, okay? Or early 20s, late, whatever, late teens or whatever. And I like injured my lower back, and I still feel the ramifications of that injury today, where I was like, man, I was lucky that I didn't pop a disc or something like that, because like I like deadlifted. I was trying to impress this like this Irish chick that was like, when I was doing study abroad in Dublin, which is where the injury happened. And then I deadlifted, and then I felt like a twang in my spine, in my lower spine, and I like slammed the deadlift down. I was like, oh, I'm chilling, like this is pretty cool, right? And then like took a step forward, and I have felt like immense pain in my life, and in a few noticeable like instances, like emotional pain because of a loved one passing away, mental stress from just almost having a breakdown and stuff like that, and then like physical stress from an injury. And like that was like one of the first times in my life that I had like actually frickin' hurt myself to the point where I couldn't walk for at least like a couple of days properly. Like thank God I was like young and viral at the time and stuff, to the point where like the injury can, when you're young and stuff, like you can just walk off injuries like it's nothing. Yeah, so it's just like, now my body can't respond like that, anymore. But man, I was lucky. It could have been way, way worse. So anyway, I was powerlifting, and then I started getting more injuries as the years went by. I think it was because like I was trying to prove something, where like I had a bunch of powerlifting buddies that were constantly like telling me about their numbers and stuff like that, and that created a massive sense of inferiority. You'll notice a common theme in this video where it's like I have an inferiority complex, and like that's a problem that I've like had my entire life, but whatever. And I started getting more injuries because I was trying to prove to them and myself that like I could bench like 225 when I could barely bench like 170 or something, you know what I mean? And then so that was like my like powerlifting like era, right? And I still lift, but I lift very differently. Like the problem with powerlifting is that if you're not competing, then it's, I don't know, you quickly just kind of question the point, you know what I mean? Like if you're not competing in different competitions, I'm gonna do the child's pose for yoga, but like if you're not competing and stuff like that, then what's honestly the point? Yeah, it's cool to like, mention to your friends that you bench 225 and that you deadlift like 405 and stuff. But at the same time, like if you're not competing on stage or, at meetups or whatever, and you're accumulating injuries, like what's the point? So like I had those, hopefully you can hear me like when I'm like that, but whatever. I had those like injuries and stuff, and I was like, I don't know. I was like starting to question like everything at the same time. And I was just like, damn, like this powerlifting thing is cool, but like at the same time, I'm starting to really like hurt myself. You know what I mean? So like when did I start like transitioning over to running? When did that happen? I think I found running out of just a need for something different. And that's what I mean by like trying to find other modes of training in your life that will let you like stay consistent with fitness. We'll get into that like later. But like I found running through, I think I just found running just because like I wanted to do something different, So like I don't know. I started thinking to myself, and I was like, well, I'm starting to turn in my mid-20s. I've read all these like stories of people injuring themselves to the point where like they can't even walk. And like Ronnie Coleman, for example, is a prime example of that. Like it's a little extreme, but like the man is Mr. Olympia, right? Like won 12 times in a row. Search him up if you don't know who he is. But the dude in his 60s needs like canes and stuff like that. Had to get like 3 surgeries or something because he had like lifted so much weight. Like, he was like, back in the day, this was like back in like I think Ronnie Coleman was back in like the 90s or something, maybe 80s. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the dude had lifted so much and was he had squatted like what, 900 pounds or something like that. The dude had deadlifted like so much, like to the point where his body like broke down. So what's the point? Like, he was competing, right? And that's my point, is like he was competing. He was, you know, proving to the world that he was Mr. Olympia or whatever. I'm just a regular dude, and I'm like injuring myself to the point where like I can't even walk. You know what I mean? So it's just like I was like, this has got to stop, man. Like, I want to walk when I'm like 40 years old. You know what I mean? And like, I gotta change something up. So like, I found running. I got into that pretty well, and then I think that's when I discovered David Goggins, actually. Yeah. No, I discovered David Goggins at the time, and I think that's what kind of got me into running, now that I think about it. I know, it's dumb, but don't judge me, okay? Like, don't judge me. Everyone gets into stuff just because, like, people get into sports because a friend tells them to come to a practice meet, you know what I mean? So, don't judge me. So, it's just like, with Goggins, like, I got into running, and then I started doing more of that, and then the pandemic hit, right? The pandemic hit, and then you couldn't go to a gym, so I got into calisthenics, you know? So, like, I had always done kind of calisthenics off and on before, and so, like, with calisthenics, it's very interesting because all you need is a pull-up bar, right? And then you can do some crazy stuff with your body weight. So it's like powerlifting, running, and then calisthenics. And then when I was in Maine, I got into swimming a little bit more. Swimming is like a bad choice for me though, because like I mean, just look, like I have all this like muscle on my frame, so I sink like a rock. I'm a bad swimmer because my technique is utter crap. Dang it, I shouldn't have cursed. My technique is like just terrible. I sink like a stone, you know. So it's like I never really liked swimming anyway, even from a young age, but I got into, you know, that a little bit too. So you have like 4 different modes of training right there. So my point through all this rambling and just the explanation of like how my fitness journey has like changed over the years is that I think there's this new, I mean, it's not a new concept, but it's a concept that's gained popularity throughout the years, over the past like, you know, 5 to 10 years or whatever, from what I've seen in the fitness community. And it's called being a hybrid athlete. So what I mean by a hybrid athlete is someone who embraces different modes of fitness. So for example, you have the 4 that we mentioned like just before. We have lifting, powerlifting as a derivative of that. We have running, right? We have swimming, calisthenics, bicycling as a 5th. I got into that too, and stuff like that, you know? So like you have these different modes of just like doing these different like modes of fitness. And the hybrid athlete is someone who embraces all of that, which is very interesting. With the hybrid athlete, I feel like that's what I am like now, because like, for example, in my current life right now, and this is not me like flexing or anything like that, but like I keep myself intentionally busy, as they say, to keep the demons away, you know what I mean? And I sometimes don't have time to work out because like I'm not a morning person. I hate doing 6 a.m. workouts, and I've done that before, and I feel tired for the rest I don't understand people that say like, oh my god, like I do these 6 a.m. workouts and I have so much energy for the rest of the day. That's BS. Like, you know what I mean? Like that, and if you're not a morning person too, you can probably sympathize with me. That's complete BS. You're tired for the rest of the day. You consume super amounts of coffee like I do to like try to stay awake. You know what I mean? So it's just like, that's utter BS. But like, back to what I was saying before. So like with the hybrid athlete, like I have such a busy schedule with like trying to grow the Embassy Life in DC project, which is like my other creative project, that I have to, like, I can't go to the gym, because the gym where I live here in DC is 20 minutes, like, walking, you know? And then you're just like, well, why don't you find something closer? It's like, no, there isn't anything closer with the gym, with equipment that I like, because I still power lift, but not as much as I used to, you know? So it's just like, to go to the gym is a time commitment of around 2 hours, because like I walk there, do my thing, stretch, come back, so that's 2 hours right there. But I don't have time for that sometimes if I'm going to like an embassy event or if I'm going out with friends or whatever. So like sometimes I'll go for a run instead because it's quicker. Or I'll just go down to the park down the street and do some calisthenics and like, you know, a mixed routine of running. You know, so it's just like you do that out of necessity. And unintentionally, I became a hybrid athlete, which is very, I mean, I always kind of was, because like when I stopped doing powerlifting full time, 6 days out of the week or whatever, I ended up running more when I was in Maine, where I was like before this. So it was interesting because I was becoming a powerlifting hybrid athlete without even realizing it. And now I truly am one. And it's not a glorified title, but it's like it's how I train now, which is very interesting. So as a hybrid athlete, you can paint me like one of your French girls as a reference to Titanic or whatever because of the pose. Just kidding. But as a hybrid athlete, you can do what you want to do. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I'm trying to like meet like some powerlifting goals. Like I gotta bench 315 by the end of summer. It's kind of freeing in a way because like you can do what you want to do, but you still maintain your fitness level. And I think that's like I mentioned before that I'm not training for anything specifically, right? And you can say that's a bad thing if you want to. I mean, I do want to run eventually like a marathon in my life, maybe more than one. That would be nice because I'm a decent runner. I'm not the fastest, but you know, I'm not that bad. Just came back from an hour and a half right now. And with a hybrid routine, you're kind of like, you know, you kind of do what you like can do around time, because let's be honest, like working out is a commitment, right? Like not a lot of people do it as much as they should. People work out when they got the time or the will, and that's a whole different thing in itself. Will and motivation, there's a difference between both, you know? And it's just like if you can build a fitness routine around like a hybrid approach where you are training different facets of life, from like running to biking to swimming to lifting to maintain your size and shape, you're stretching because like flexibility is important, you don't want to tear something, you know what I mean? So it's just like if you can train like a hybrid athlete, that to me is like how you maintain a consistent level of fitness. Because like for example today, right, like I finished work, I was doing some stuff for the Embassy Life in DC project and doing some YouTube stuff after work, and then it was, by the time I knew it, it was like 7 o'clock, and I was just like, dang it, like I don't want to like go to the gym and then by the time I'm done it's like 9 o'clock. I'd rather go for a run because the weather is like beautiful outside. So I went for a run. It was an hour and a half. I came back, and then, you know, I'm talking to you now while weirdly posing and also stretching. So my point to you is this. If you are struggling with working out, know that trying to build a good workout routine that doesn't A, bore you, and B, suck up too much time during your week it's hard to build, and it takes years of finding out like what you like and what you don't like to be able to get to that level. Like, for example, I think a common problem with people and working out just in general is like they say that they don't have the time for it, or they, you know, they don't want to because they're too tired at the end of the day. Everyone's circumstances are different, but that's why like when I see like these like fitness YouTubers that try to sell you their own workout plans and stuff like that, I mean, it's great if you're in a niche, but like if you're trying to like just maintain a consistent level of fitness, just like the average regular person, you know what I mean, like should and stuff like that, then you need to build something that works for you. There's not a one-size-all approach that works for fitness. Like everyone's different, everyone has different interests. Some people like to do yoga instead of like, you know, all this stuff, which is great because they can do crazy stuff that I've never even seen before, you know? So my point to you is this, even though I've said that twice, like build a workout routine that works for you. and try to at least like work out 2 to 3 times a week, at least for half an hour. And if you can do that for a set number of months, that'll turn into a year, that turns into multiple years, and then you look back and you're just like, dude, I look great, I feel great, and then your diet should also be good too. That can be a separate thing that we cover as well. But it's just like, I feel like what's worked for me, and I hope like what you get out of this video, is that, truth be told, the powerlifting stuff was great, but it was getting boring very quickly, to me at least. You know, like when you're constantly just benching, deadlifting, or squatting all the time, and you're not even competing, then what, you know, you just get bored, then you stop working out, you start gaining weights, you know what I mean? So it's a vicious cycle. So if you can build a workout routine that works for you by doing the activities that just make your body move, you know, I feel like fitness is overcomplicated nowadays. It's just like everyone tries to like overcomplicate it when they should just stick to the basics. Like all you have to do is freaking move your body. You know, freaking move your body for half an hour to an hour, more if you want to, 2 to 3 times a week if you're just starting out. You know, obviously the more times you work out during the week, the better. But if you're just starting out, that's the best way to do it. So it's just like everyone overcomplicates, like, how do you stay in shape so great? And how do you stay fit? Well, dude, move your body in a way that you like through yoga, running, biking. There's so many things you can do. Hell, even jump roping. I do that too, you know? And then like you look good, you feel good, people start noticing that you're in shape. Like I had a compliment from someone at work the other day, like, dude, before I even met you, I thought you were a small dude just like through Teams or whatever, because it was a conference call. And then when I saw you in real life, I was shocked that you were like this huge dude. And I'm not even that big, dude. I'm like 5'9". Like, I'm not a big human being. I'm average sized, but, you know, I look after myself. And you're supposed to do that as a person that's trying to explore the physical limitations. So, for the average person out there, find a routine that works for you. There's not a one-size-all, you know, fits approach or whatever. Find something you enjoy doing, because trust me, if you find activities that you like to do physically, you're going to stick. There's a higher chance that you're going to stick with it long term. And, like, the worst thing that you can do is like get into fitness and like work out for a week and then stop. You know what I mean? Because like you have to be consistent. It's like a skill, right? Like working out is a skill. You work out, you stay consistent with it, and you improve over time. So find a workout routine, find activities that you can get into, work out with a group. There's also group classes, you know, that are also a great source of motivation, and just work out. You know, you have a body for a reason. And like 95% of jobs out there, unless you're in the trades, it's like you're sitting on your butt all day. Get a standing desk, get a moving desk. Like there's many ways to, you know, get around the fact that if you're not using your body, I'm getting closer, not to be intimate, but because I'm going to turn off the camera. Video's already been like half an hour. But if you can find something that like you're really into and you just work out, you stick with that for like a couple years, you would be amazed. Like I remember like 6 years, or no, like more than that, like shit, or damn it, sorry. I remember, let's say like 7 to 10 years ago, right? I look at pictures of me in high school, and I'm this scrawny kid that has self-confidence issues and a massive inferiority complex. And I still have that today. That hasn't changed. You know what I mean? Like I've gotten bigger, I've grown into my body, and I have more confidence now, but you know, I still have issues like we all do. But I look at like how I've grown, you know what I mean? With just like working out and stuff like that. And it makes me proud. Just because like, I don't know, I look at what I used to be and what I am now, and I'm completely different. And if you can take that to heart and you can use that in some way, great. You know, I really hope you get some value out of this video with the workout routine and just being a hybrid athlete and embracing different facets of life and stuff like that. You don't have to train for an Ironman or, you know, a marathon. That's great if you do. But for the average person that just wants to stay in shape and have a constant, consistent level of fitness, just find something you enjoy doing, keep at it for a couple years, and you'll be amazed at what the results would bring. Follow and like for more, because I have to say that to get y'all to follow and like the videos. The Life with Nate channel covers a bunch of different things. Fitness, apparently. I don't know. If y'all like the fitness videos, I might start doing more, you know what I mean? Because like I talk about different niches. Fitness, travel, existential questions and stuff like that. So stick around and we can do more videos like this. I hope you have a great night wherever you are.